Good. Hi, everybody. Sorry, this is my first time that I'm actually streaming my Zoom to Facebook, in case you can't tell. So anyway, we're so excited to talk today. My special guest today is Dr. Sheila Kilbane, and if you guys are not familiar with her, you guys need to follow her ASAP. She's an integrative pediatrician who pretty much, I feel like, founded integrative medicine in Charlotte, because what was it, like 12 years ago when we got to know each other, I was referring to her, and I believe at that time you were working in Concord, and my patients would come from visits with her, and they would say, oh my gosh, Dr. Kilbane in her office has like walls of Juice Plus and has walls of fruits and vegetables and tells us what milks to drink and what foods to eat. And I was like, what a dream job that is. So I've been envious of her for a long time. So now we work a mile away from each other, and I am following in her footsteps of this amazing physician. And so I'm so honored that she's here with me today, because we have some topics to discuss that are hot on everybody's mind. So welcome, Dr. Kilbane. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. You are so sweet. That is so kind. But I love this. I love the time when I met Dr. Temple, because I was working at University Pediatrics, and you came in, you were a hospital at the time, and you came in to introduce the hospitalist, and you had the most pizzazz, and you were just like, okay, so we're going to do this. And, if you call, just call us and we'll take care of them. And I just thought, who is this Spitfire? This is awesome. We just hadn't had anybody that had that much energy about it. So I loved you from the minute that I met you. So that was your energy, and it is so exciting to have so many people now. We have a couple of other people doing this as well. So it's super exciting, and it's so great to have. I mean, we are text questions back and forth, and it's so good to have people to talk about this and to just keep promoting this, it's sort of lifestyle medicine maybe, or just thinking about what we're eating. And so thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. And I thought that we would start with our miscommunication that we had about going live. And so we were talking about what to talk about. And then I sent you a message. I was like, let's talk about 5G. And then you interpreted on that side. And so tell everybody like what happened.
All right. So there's, all of us have been reading and, doing the best we can to keep up. And so Anna Maria texted and said, let's, do you want to do a live Facebook and we can talk about 5G? And I actually thought you were joking. So, but then the rest of the text said, or do you have another idea? And I just wrote, ha. In my mind, I said, not a chance. And because I thought she was talking about this 5G conspiracy. And it's the last thing I would want to get on Facebook and talk about. And so I just said, haha, no. And then somebody sends me a picture of the Instagram post of, we're going to talk about 5G. And I was like, and I got so anxious about it just because I didn't want, I am not a big conspiracy theorist, and I just like, and so I texted her last night, but in the meantime, she messaged me in the morning. I had gotten myself all worked up about this. And so, and then I'd sent you a message, and she messaged me right away and said, I'm so sorry, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So it was like I had a physiologic reaction when I thought this was something, and a lot of it is because I didn't want people to think something about me, which is also another thing, right, of us worrying about what people think about us. And so it's, it's really, I can think whatever I want. And it just was overwhelming to me to think about this very controversial topic, being discussed on Facebook. So anyway, it was a good point. And then we were talking about, well, what do you want to talk about? And I said, I think this is a good thing right now, because what we're all doing is we're painting these scenarios in our minds of what's going to happen, who in our family is going to get sick, who in our family. I mean, you have 2 healthcare workers in your household, Anna, and so we can let our brains go down the rabbit hole really quickly. And sometimes I'll start to read some of the things online, and I get nauseous. So I know my limit, and I have to stop. Sometimes I go down it a little bit too far and I have to back out. So because your body doesn't know when your mind is thinking something, your body doesn't know if it's real or if it's just imagined. And so it's we go down that path. And that's what, so this morning I did a little mindfulness with a friend of mine who teaches this for kids. And so she just taught a little mindfulness practice, because it's just like riding a bike. So if we can go back and say, okay, can I calm my body down? Can I breathe? Can I take a walk? What can I do? I always say, do your systems check, is what is happening. And if you can do something, or, if it's your kids who are agitating you, can you lock yourself in your closet or your bedroom safely and calm yourself down, and then continue to go about your day. So it's because Dr. Temple, I know we both see a lot of families of kids who are in acute, they're often in crisis mode when they come and see us, right? Because the families have done a whole lot. And it's so I think part of what we do is to help families learn those processes and those techniques to calm things down.
I totally agree. And I think that one of the things that you're saying too is that when we are perceiving stress and we perceive we're under attack, our cortisol level goes up high. And it's not us, I always talk to the people about, the tiger in the forest, because I have no better analogy. But in the past, it was the tiger chasing you, your cortisol going up. Now you read something rolling out of the 5G, or coronavirus is a pandemic, and your cortisol response is the same as if you were running into the forest and the tiger is chasing you. The body has no idea about the difference. And when the cortisol level goes up, our immune system is depressed, because you can't be fighting viruses and germs and other things if your body needs cortisol, because you're in fight or flight mode. So this time that we're in right now is a perfect example. We're like, oh, we're home, but yet we're still being chased by the tiger every time we turn on the media, every time a new announcement comes on. Like you said earlier, if you go down the rabbit hole of social media, and then all of a sudden that's really benefited you. It is not beneficial to me to read or see pictures of folks, the physicians struggling in Italy. My heart goes out to them, and I'm thinking of them, and I'm sending them well wishes. But for me to see the difficulty is only stressing me, and it's not helping me service the people here, as is some of the things that we're about to talk about. Because if we're over there and our cortisol's over here, we're not serving our body the way it needs to be served, especially in a pandemic when we need to have our immune system at its peak performance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And some of the things to do, and I did this long ago. I mean, I am in a lot of groups with entrepreneurs, and we're in groups together. And one of the first things they always talk about is turning the notifications off on your phone. So I don't get Facebook, I don't get email, I don't get any of those notifications. And I haven't for, a couple of years. That was a game changer to turn those things off. And it's even the news, getting the news, when you want to go look at something. So just pop on CNN if that's, if you have your little window cut out that you want to do those things. So it's the less that we can have bombarded. I read once that, I don't know if this is true, but that more information passes through our brain in a day than it used to in a lifetime in 100 years ago. And when you think about all of the stuff that we're reading, and it's really mind-boggling what we put our brains through. And in a way, we have all the benefits of technology, but I think this is a really good time for us to practice it ourselves, because I think we have to do what we want our kids to do. We can't just tell them what to do. So.
Amen. Because children don't listen to what we say, but they copy what we do. Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
I just want to say one more thing. There was because I did go down a little bit of a Facebook rabbit hole last night, and there was a video, and it was a mom, who she must do education, but she was showing her daughter like playing around her, and she was going into the kitchen, or she went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, I'm so fat," but said it out loud. And the little girl is in the room playing, and then she's in looking at the laundry, and she's like, "Oh, I'm such a mess." And then she goes into another room and says, "Oh, I'm so disorganized." And then they chose the little girl playing with her animals and saying to her little stuffed dog, "Oh, I'm so fat." And so it's even, and sometimes we don't say it out loud, and this is always, the same thing, I think, for all of us to always work on that. And even if you do go down that rabbit hole, kind of going, all right, I'm still okay. I'm still a good person and all the things, even though I started looking at all of this stuff, or even though I yelled at my child, or I
Some people do that, I heard. I might do it between all my patients, because let me tell you, working from home, I get up between my patient appointments and I start going yelling at people. Possibly. It's possible. Hearsay. Totally alleged. That's not.
no,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Cool. So, having said that, because I think starting with being aware of our reaction to what's going on and being aware of what we control, we wanted to get into this topic that I've gotten a lot of questions on, and everybody getting wound up about the 5G rolling out. And, a lot of stuff online is going to be, oh my gosh, is 5G responsible for the pandemic? Is 5G responsible for cancer? Is 5G responsible for chronic disease? Now 5G is rolling into our town. What does that mean for our families? They're going to put it into schools. What does that mean? Can we go to the town hall? Can we go to Congress? Can we write a petition? Right. So we're all getting wound up over this. So I wanted to take a step back and understand what is in our control, and maybe also a little bit of science behind it. And I would love to get your input on the science and thought on effects from EMF, and then we can talk about some things that we can actually do rather than just ponder.
Yeah. So we, as Dr. Templin and I were talking beforehand, that there are so many things that we can control. And the research just is, there's some research on 5G. There's, that would be valid for us to even talk about. The one thing that I will often talk about with this is that can impair our calcium, our voltage gated calcium channels, which are, so our cells have an electric charge. It's a membrane charge, and that's really important for nutrients going in and out, for sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and they all work in this beautiful orchestra. And if when we're exposed to the 5G, it impairs the working of that cell membrane. So we that can affect all of our different systems. How exactly that affects them, I don't know that anybody knows this yet. So we can step away from our phones, we can turn the Wi-Fi off at night, and we can really give, I think, so many times, and especially in our doctor's offices, if a kiddo is if they just need to be quiet for a little bit, our go-to is handing them the phone. And I think maybe if we just do that practice of just pretend you don't have that available and see what you would do. And I think it's a similar thing of what's happening right now, because people have, I know a lot of people who are seeing the silver lining in, not in that people are getting sick and dying, but in the fact that they're home together. They're like, probably, you have teenagers, right?
Yeah.
So how often are your teenagers actually home in the evenings and everybody is together? And it's it's allowing this opportunity that we never would have created unless forced upon us. So can we look at this 5G and all of our electronics, and can we say, okay, we really are going to do, after 5 o'clock, since the kids are going to do most of their online learning over the computer, and they're going to get their screen time done with their schooling, can we really say, all right, from 5 to bedtime, there's no screens?
I think that is so important because like we were talking earlier, I was like, we are worried, we're panicked. We're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be mind control and it's cancer and it's all this panic. And then I'm like, but did you just put a Nest doorbell in your house? Did you just buy your toddler an iPad? Why does a fifth grader have a phone? So these are, we're sitting there going, pointing fingers like Congress this and I'm like, right, but we're allowing it into our house. I understand that we may not have control on the tower that's sitting outside my house or down the street because I can't go down. Anyway, that's not in my control. The point is, it still has to come into my house. And the way it comes to my house is going to be through my devices. I mean, do you have a TV in all your rooms? Why do we have so many TVs in our houses? So if you're truly concerned about 5G, that all the children should not have iPads. By the way, if anyone has an iPad in my house, it's my iPad. Just so we're clear, there's no, like, children don't have iPads. We need to be careful of who we're giving phones to. I mean, it's like now I'm like, oh, well, I upgraded my phone. So I just happen to have a 10, my iPhone 10 available. So I'll give it to, my fifth grader because I can. Why? You're just giving them Wi-Fi and you're giving them exposure. I have another thing. I just had this conversation with somebody in my clinic yesterday because she was asking about 5G. And I said, I was like, I understand your concerns, but tell me where your phone is when you're sleeping. And she's like, oh, well, it's in my room. I'm like, And she's like, oh, but it's on airplane mode. And I was like, girlfriend, that is turning off one antenna. Your phone has 4 antennas. It's got your cellular data, it's got your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, and your location services. So in my house, I live with teenagers and they're all on Life 360. And I know they're like, because you always watch it, they follow me more than I follow them. I'm just saying. But it's really handy when you have teenagers and you need an errand done or pick up somebody or whatever. But that means that location services are all on. So when you turn your phone on airplane mode, it only turns off one antenna. So you think you're fine without EMF radiation. Think again, that phone needs to be outside. So once again, we're looking at what are we doing in our space rather than what's out there. Also, if you turn your phone off and you plug it in your room, that's still stuff coming into your phone that is being plugged in. I mean, it's small, but if you have a little this and a little that, all the small things add together. And so those are some simple things that can come out. And also our teenagers should never be allowed to have phones in their rooms for the same reason, even though they whine and complain, and they're like, it's my phone. My phone. And let's say that they got the phone for Christmas. I'm like, I'm paying for Wi-Fi and I'm paying for data. Therefore, it's all mine. And so we got to get out of that mentality that they own all these things, because they don't. And we're the parents and we're in control. So if we're truly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's.
Go ahead.
Oh, wait, sorry. It was a little bit of a delay. Go ahead.
No, so if we're truly worried about 5G, we got to start implementing these things first before we're going out into the big bad world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think you also bring up another point of having that clarity and having not being afraid to disappoint the kids, because I think that's another thing that we have gotten into, of where we're wanting somebody. This is a woman, I study this natural horsemanship, and one of the women who developed this process, she talks about, we're raising successful children instead of successful, or we're trying to raise we're trying to raise successful children versus successful adults. And it doesn't, we all fail, we have disappointments, we have things that happen. And I think it's by setting those boundaries and telling the kids, no, you can't do this. And then that teaches them how to do that as they get older. So I think that's really, powerful. And you just taught me something, is I didn't realize there were those other antennas on a telephone.
Yeah.
But I guess you would have to turn it fully off.
The only way that you get rid of any EMFs from your phone is you got to turn the thing completely off. So therefore it's not going to work as an alarm clock, which is the excuse that everyone uses, because, there's no alarm clocks at Target anymore.
No. Interesting. Wow. I need to get myself a little alarm clock. And I because I don't have any other clocks or anything. So I need to get a little, and ideally you should just get a battery operated.
Yeah, don't get one that's like Wi-Fi compatible and has like all these things, because that defeats the whole purpose.
Yes, and it's even buying appliances now and buying everything. We had for one of the masterminds for my practice, we had a radiologist from Duke who did a talk, and he has seen, he's retired now, but he has seen all of this go through, and how with MRI machines in the beginning that they were too strong and they had to shift, with CAT scans and MRIs, and how they had to look when these things first come into being, and they seem like they're answering all of our problems, but then we have to keep looking. And even, I mean, smoking, you can look up Camel commercials for smoking where physicians were online saying that what kind of brand that they liked. So it's using it for what we need it and not getting overexposed, I think.
Totally, 100%. And I think that's a great point with appliances, because now everybody's getting smart homes, right? Like you can control your oven from your phone before you come home. You can control the temperature of your refrigerator or whatever. You can start your dishwasher. And it sounds so great and convenient, but then we can't be going like, I'm really afraid of 5G. It doesn't go together. If you're truly concerned, those things should not be in your house, and you have to stay old school, like TVs. We're building a house and we were like, oh, do we have them, Wi-Fi connected or wired in? And they're like, the guy, actually the same physician you're talking about, he was like, plug it in the wall, wire it in, forget this Wi-Fi situation, plug it in. He's like, go old school. He's like, the more fancy your house is, the more Wi-Fi you get going on. So, before I start putting tinfoil on my walls, that actually was a suggestion in one of the grand rounds I was in, but we're not going to do tinfoil. If you're building a house and you're really worried, metal roof, awesome, if you can afford it. And then really is just kind of watching all the devices and how, are all your light switches on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or, again, so handy to sit on your pad, turn all your house on. But then you can't be like, oh, I'm really worried about 5G. It's, again, I'm just kind of putting those two
putting that in the earbuds,
plug them in. Like
everybody,
everybody has those. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other one too is that I've seen is people put their phones on their body. So same physician was talking about that if you're the further each millimeter away from our body that our phone is, the better it is, the less electromagnetic radiation we're getting from the phones. So a lot of people like to put their phones in their pockets. My boys put their phones in their pockets. And after the grand rounds, I was like, boys, I've told you, decreases sperm count. So they do have data on that. And my boys were like, whoa, because if it attacks the male parts,
then
we're listening.
Then we will listen. Exactly.
Listen. And the same thing for pregnant ladies. I have a lot of mamas that are like, oh, well, when the belly gets big, it's such a good shelf. I mean, let's be honest. And so, you can put your laptop and you can put your phone, but we do have data showing that mamas who have put their phones and their laptops on their bellies have children with higher risk of ADHD, behavioral things, and neurological things. Again, but this is what is showing, and I'm listening, and I'm just saying it's a simple thing. Don't put it on your belly. Put it on a table, on a surface. Don't even put the blanket thing, because then everybody's like, how about the blanket thing and the antenna sticker thing? And don't put it on your body. It's really I go old school. I wash my hands with soap and water, and I wash my counters with soap and water, and I just remove stuff from my body rather than spending because we're trying to do is like, we don't want to be inconvenienced. So we're trying to look for the latest gadgets to make the 5G less of a problem when we just need to, you know what I mean? Like, turn it off, like you said, that is brilliant, but that's really inconvenient, because if you get text, I mean, my Instagram is rocking at 9 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So you got to turn it off. Yeah. Any other things you give? What about like the stickers, the antenna stickers that everyone wants to put a sticker thingy on their phones or cases or things like that. Have you had to discuss that with your patients?
I have, we talked about that with Dr. Burke, there, and he had one brand that he thought was actually valid, that worked, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. But this is where I go back to the same thing that we're talking about, is just put it away, because are we going to spend more money on gadgets and things that we're not really sure if they work or not, and pendants to wear? And so I would go back to the thing of leaving it off. If you're putting it in your purse, and do we really need to be gotten a hold of all the time? I don't know, other than if you're on call for something, or maybe your child is somewhere that they need to be able to get a hold of you. I just don't think that we all need to have our phones all the time with us. So I have not, I don't generally recommend those things,
Yeah, me neither.
um, because I think we're spending money for something that we don't even know if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Or making the problem worse, because some things are like amplify. If the phone doesn't get the signal, then it amplifies the EMF because it's trying to find it. So if you're blocking it with the latest gadget,
Yeah.
you can actually make the problem worse. And here's the thing I just learned about, is that if you drive and your phone is like less than full bars and you're searching on your phone, it actually is the most amount of EMF, because as you're driving, you're moving between cell towers. So the phone is trying to go over here and reaching over there and thinking over here, and it actually putting out more EMFs trying to find the signal, because you're trying to search the latest thing on Amazon, or even like Google Maps, which, my God, I would be lost because I don't know how to read a map anymore. But but when you have it on in your car, you need to be aware of that. That's a huge amount of EMF that is happening when you're searching on your phone. I don't think people realize that. Again, we're like, oh, we're worried about all these towers, but wait, I can't have it inconvenient, because when I'm in the car now, I could finally search for that awesome bag that I've been meaning to, and now I have 5 minutes because someone else is driving, kind of thing, which I've done. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just little by little, I think. And it's because it's just this accumulation of things. And I think even the bigger part of this is, how many things are we missing because we have our head in our phones? And I'm super guilty of this. And we don't have time. And I think this is that other time, this is a great period to connect with people. And yes, we do need that nice pocketbook when we need it,
But do we really need it? But do we really
do
need
we really need it? Sometimes.
it? Yeah, but I think that's a great point, because right now and you said it earlier before we got on, is that now that we have never been giving this chance to be at home with our babies, right? My daughter's home from college and I missed her. I mean, I cannot tell you how hard it is. I mean, I thought when they're 2 years old is hard, and when they're all in diapers and one's throwing a tantrum and they were so annoying, and my boys would float toys in the toilet, and then I had the picky eater and the kid with asthma. I mean, I thought that was hard. Let me tell you, sending my baby girl to college, crushing, because I really like her. And so she went to college, and then and then that's it. She's done. She's gone. She's supposed to fly the nest. She's not supposed to be attached to me until she's 40, I hope. But with that comes this, this ripping part that should happen. But the way I'm looking at this, I'm like, I got my baby for another 2 months. It's a gift I would have never gotten otherwise. And so it's up to me to freak out over the minutia. It's up to me to be occupied by 1,000 things and again, I've been on news and we're toning it down because that's past, but because I'm guilty. And so now it's like, okay, I need to focus on the gift that I was given. Therefore, we're going to put our phones down. I'm going to put my social media down and actually look eye to eye to my children, who have become so busy as older teenagers and are, like, to your point earlier, they're gone out of the house most of the time. This is my gift, that I get to just spend just a little more time, have a little more patience, and just appreciate them, because, man, they're gone like that.
Yeah, there's a Danish term, and I'm renting a friend's house right now, and she's got this book. It's called Hygge, and it's this Danish term for kind of coziness and creating those spaces in your house and with people. And it's all about connection. And I mean, that's exactly what you're describing, is having that time and being able to be with her. And I love that. I don't like that we all have this, but that's so great that you get to have a little extended time with her.
Well, right, because I mean, I don't. Again, that's back to our control, right? I am not in control of the pandemic. Neither are you. We're not in control of the fact that we got quarantined. So I could be angry and mad about it. I can choose to do that. That's just going to affect my cortisol level and depress my immune system. Or I could choose to focus on the gifts I was given and be grateful for. Last night I can't go grocery shopping. My one of my son's girlfriends actually grocery shop for us because I'm under quarantine because I got tested for COVID. The tests are not back yet, but once you get tested, you are in quarantine. So we're in quarantine. And anyway, so she got, but they were out of a lot of stuff. So when I made a salad last night, I actually walked around like, I am so thankful we ran out of all the usual foods because I had to create a new salad with new ingredients, use stuff that was sitting in the cabinets that was probably going to go bad because I always reach for the huge. And I made this new salad. Everybody's like, oh, new salad. We love the new salad. I would have never made it if I had the opportunity to have the same foods that I have access to all the time. So again, I took a moment. I was like, I'm really, you know what? Okay, I got this. I can do this.
Yeah, that is exactly. And that was even coming out here. I have wanted to rent this from her for a long time and stay and even potentially do more remote visits with my patients, but I just hadn't pulled the plug on it. And so now I did it, and it's, oh my gosh, it makes me so happy to be out here. So it's
Well,
all,
even seeing you with the background that you have, that's calming. So if I'm having a visit with you about my child who is like beside themselves, just looking at the nature behind you is so relaxing and calming versus in, amidst four walls, which of course our clinics are so super cute, but it's, having the view of nature and the sunlight and listening to the birds behind you is so mindful during a visit.
I'll offer just calls. We'll just sit on video, right, with families. We won't even speak. We'll just sit here.
Just because we don't, some people are so cooped up, but I totally agree. It's such a opportunity to try something different.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Any other words of advice or things that have come up in clinic amidst the stressful time? And, I know you've done things on homeschooling and you've done things with Dr. Smolden, and you've done so many awesome Facebook things. So if you guys have not gone on Dr. Kilbane's Facebook page, please go over there. It's so much great information on what you can do during this time and helpful tips on how to navigate staying at home.
Well, thank you. I think the biggest thing, a lot of people, they talk about supplements and what should we do. And yes, there are always the supplements that we can do, but then if you go back further, supplements aren't going to do anything if we're putting them into a system that is very inflamed. So it goes back to our food. And I'm sure you had this conversation with the families in your practice, but I sent an email out saying, you know what, you've all been doing a lot of work, for a long time with how you're eating and how you're living. So we don't have to get too super excited. We don't really have to shift our supplements a whole lot. We just have to stay quarantined, and we have to stay, you have to stay away from people as much as you can, because we know, all we can do is have as strong an immune system as possible. And the other thing I think is even just saying, if you're saying with your kids, oh my gosh, we are so strong. We have such a strong immune system. Just saying that every day and how healthy we are, that is going to do a part with your immune system to strengthen it. So I think always going back to what we're eating and staying away from refined sugar and artificial dyes and colors, and if you knowing what foods work best for your body and for your child's body, that is going to do as much to help your immune system as anything else we can do, in addition to all the washing hands and staying away from people. So I think that's one of the other points I really wanted to make to people, is that a lot of people listening to this are doing a tremendous amount. They maybe have forgotten how much they're actually doing to support themselves.
I think that is so important. Actually, I send the exact same email, by the way. That is exact same conversation I
Great
had with
minds
my
think
patient. I
alike.
mean, exactly the same. But I think I love what you just said, because when you're in it and you've changed the food, you've changed the electrons, you've changed the sleep, gone out, right? You've done all these things.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, it's a pandemic. I haven't done anything. And then you sit down and you're like, hold on a second. Remember when we're eating Lunchables? Remember when your kids were watching
Yeah.
6 hours screen time? Remember when the teenagers were doing Netflix till 2 o'clock in the morning, and your stress level, and you didn't have any tools to decrease your stress and how to manage anxiety and all this stuff? I'm like, you have all those tools. And then that's when they're like, right. I'm like, all that work for months, sometimes years. I have patients, that I've been in practice for 2 years. We've been doing this for 2 years. That is a lot of work. And you just forget because you move on to the next moment. We always live on the next moment. And many of us like to live in the future. And so we're out there in the unknown, which raises anxiety instead of living in the present. So I really would hope that folks that are listening to this today are like, hold on, let me take a mental note of everything I've done over the past year to however long your journey has been. That has all been in preparation for this. This is how I tell everybody. Like, we're getting prepared. We've been getting prepared for this for a long time.
Yeah. My parents live in Seattle, and so they're they're both in their early 80s, and Isabella, who works with me, said to me one day, Sheila, have you loaded up your parents with supplements? I'm like, Izzy, my dad has been taking supplements since the 70s. He's ready. And when I called him, we had a good chuckle over this. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. So it is, and even, so and he's always had that attitude of like, and he's always like, we're all going to die of something. So, and I think when you put it, that always helps me to put it into perspective. And so I keep doing this little practice. It sounds a little bit morose. Like, it could be a week, I maybe only have a week. What would I change? What would I do? And it's a little, for me, it puts I don't know, it makes me a little bit less stressed, because if I just sit and think about that, and then I go, okay, probably that won't happen. So, and there's not a whole lot that I would change. So that's kind of a nice feeling also.
I love that, because you're right. Like, I'm always like, the best thing you do is like, if today you're a little better than you were yesterday, then you take off the guilt, you take off I just didn't know, just a little bit better today is then you're on your way. Because here's the thing, I totally agree with you. Like, in 2016, November, we were in New Zealand sleeping, and the earthquake of 7.4 hit, and I woke up and I literally was like, we're on the top floor, and I'm watching my chandelier hit the ceiling on one side to the other side. And in my head, I'm like, I know I shouldn't be standing under a chandelier, but I am paralyzed by fear because my entire apartment's moving, and I was waiting for the floor to drop. And the whole time my mantra was like, I didn't do any of this. I didn't do any of this. I'm like, I just need to be near my babies. They just can't suffer under the rubble. I know it's really morbid, but what I'm saying is, you get into that moment, you're like, have I done all that I could with the knowledge that I have right now? Have I done that? Because if you have, then you're like, I'm at peace. So if, I got a cough last week, and I was, of course, petrified. The moment you get a cough these days, you sneeze a little, your eyes running, you're like, it's coming. You're in a complete panic. And so I'm like, hold on, everyone, we need to relax. I believe in what I do. I literally had my mantra. I believe in what I do. Everything I do is to be prepared for this. So if this is COVID, game on, let's do it, because I got my immune system. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I've done everything for me. My journey's been 12 years. I've been on it for 12 years. So if I'm going down, I've done everything I know how, and that's it. And I released it, and then I was good. And then I slept and I de-stressed, and then I got better. And I don't want to say that I'm making this like really simple, that some people are sick. I'm just saying, for me, this was my internal turmoil that helped me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I coughed once the other morning. I just went, this is it. I called my sister. Like, it's been great knowing you, but
it's so scary. We have to laugh a little bit because everyone is doing the same thing. And if you're like, oh, this is really serious, you're to make fun of it. We're making fun of how petrifying this is, and how the same way I was like, I don't know, it's a little tight. I think it's that shortness of breath. I think that's shortness of breath. My husband's like, do you have a fever? Do you have a fever? I think you're warm.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, well, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad we got to chat on so many topics that I think, because, I know a lot of people were like, I just need to hear about 5G. But again, we're focusing on one thing, and we're missing all the things that we talked about, because it's not the one thing that undoes our health or undoes our mental health or undoes our body. It's the whole puzzle. And I love that we're able to talk about all these things that are just as important.
Yeah. And it's funny because we are literally, our clinics are a mile away from each other, and I haven't seen you in how long? Or since we were in Texas.
Texas is when we see each other. Yeah,
we actually spoke to we're able to sit down and talk. So it's right. It's just life gets busy. Oh, no. You had that cute little gathering in your office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like 9 months ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to redo it. So this is this is our first, so now everything is virtual anyway. So this is our official first meeting of 2020, and we'll just continue.
We will do it. We can pop onto my page next time and do it this next time.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I wish you well. Enjoy the beautiful scenery. And again, thank you so much for all your wisdom, and for always, you're such a huge support to me, and I look up to you, and I'm so grateful that we're able to work together. And
you are awesome. Thank you. Have a good, and be well. I'm sure it will be negative. It will be fine.
Actually, you know what? And this is weird, and I'm sure I'm going to get heat for this, but I hope that it is positive, because then I'm done with it. Then instead of my mom's like, you're so morbid and weird. I'm like, no, like if I have it, I've been quarantined. I've not left the premises, so I'm not infecting people. All my kids are under quarantine. And if I have it and we all got it and we got over it, then we're like, okay, now we can move on. It's weird. I know.
I've thought about that in a way it would be almost relieving to get it and to get over it, because then it would release it. As long as it's not, there isn't a reinfection possibility,
which we don't know.
So we won't go. I can't. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said I can't even go there right now. So we'll wait. Yeah. We'll wait. We'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
So,
awesome. All right. Well, stay well. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Maria.
All right.
Ciao.
Ciao.